I'm here with Cydney, and Cydney has bounced in and out of Horse Plus for a while now, but she is an employee at Horse Plus. And we've done podcasts before in the past, and we are going to start them up again. And Cydney gets to be our first, I won't say victim, but the first person that gets to start up with the podcast before. And I think it's interesting within the horse world, there's so much that can be talked about. And every horse person is an expert, which always makes conversations within the horse world interesting. But Cydney, why don't you kind of talk a little bit about Horse Plus back in the beginning, because you've been around for a long time because your dad was a farrier here at Horse Plus.
Yeah, I came with Dad a lot because I always loved coming out here, and we watched the episodes on YouTube as well. And I was like, I want to go. Like, let me know when you're going out to Horse Plus. And so I'd come with Dad, and he'd trim and shoe for everyone. And I don't know why. I didn't think about it when I turned 16, needed a job. And so I came out here with, back and forth a lot, and I really loved it out here, and I always have, so.
Yeah, and it's always been great having Cydney here with her dad. Now, her dad is Garrick, so if you've watched the episodes for a long time, our longtime fans, you'll always remember him, because he has quite the personality. Is that just when he's here, does he have that personality, or is it all the time?
All the time. 24/7. He's like that at home in the living room. Like, that is him right there.
Just wear you all out.
Yes, sometimes, actually.
You have years and years of horse experience, which I have followed. And like, you followed Horse Plus. I've kind of followed you through, social media and stuff. And, Garrick's taken his girls to rodeo and stuff. So tell me about your horse experience. And did you grow up with horses, or was it kind of later in life?
It all started, and I'm not joking when I say this, it all started with a one-eyed pony.
Okay, a little one-eyed pony. Ponies kind of get things going for most horsewomen.
Yeah, it started with a one-eyed pony, and my Nana made a glittery eye patch for it.
Aww.
And we'd take it to a show, and, we did like the lead, and Dad would lead me around on her, and we painted her hooves pink, which was probably a little cruel now that I think about it. She probably didn't like it at all, but...
Or maybe she didn't care.
But either way...
My feet look weird.
Her name was Allie, and she had one eye, but we loved Allie. She was our little pony, and then I always kind of rode Dad's rope horses, and it all started when I was about 4 or 5. So,
awesome. And
then we kind of took a break because Dad worked on the towboat a lot, and through middle school, we weren't big into horses, but, and then... I was like, Dad, I want to steal your rope horse. And he was like, Cydney, you don't need this horse. Like, you don't need this. And I was like, just let me try him out. And so I stole him, and I made him a breakaway horse, and then it was all history from there. Now I have my own mare that we've trained since she was 2. And so it all started with stealing Dad's horses.
Bye, Dad. So this little pony, was she always a saint for you? Or do you have any,
I don't remember any bad problems with her.
You just had a great pony.
Yeah, and most time, ponies can be kind of stubborn at times, but Allie was always... We have a picture, and my sister's asleep on her back. She fell asleep while she was being led around on her. Aww. And she was just... a great little pony. She wasn't like most of them, trying to be stubborn.
Well, you got the little gem, because my pony was not a nice pony. I grew up with horses, Arabian horses. My parents raised Arabian horses when I was little, and so some of my earliest memories are with the Arabian horses almost getting killed. My mom, which we didn't have much money, and my mom made a round pen out of basically what she had available, which was like, if I'm remembering right, I was very little, but it was like T-post round pen, which sounds so dangerous, with hoses, like garden hose wrapped around to make the round circle. If I'm remembering right,
whatever works. Right?
back in the 80s there, but I remember watching my mom lunge him. And she had a lunge line on him and everything. And I was trying to figure out how I could get to my mom. And I was like, okay, he just passed. So if I go out right when he passed, I'll be able to get to my mom.
Like playing chicken with the horse.
And I remember he passed and I started moving, and all of a sudden I heard my mom scream, and I looked at her, and then I looked back, and I remember him rearing up like really close to me, and like he was trying to stop, like basically he put on the brakes and his front feet came off the ground. I was like, it's one of my earliest memories. But my pony, I wanted a black pony because my favorite movie was The Black Stallion with all the Arabian horses. My parents always watched that a lot. And so my mom went out and found this black pony. I don't know where she found him, but he was like a 4-year-old black little pony that had been abused. That was basically not the nicest little pony. The scar on my face is because one time I was riding him and he bucked me off, and a stick actually went through my skin right next to my eye.
Oh my
above
goodness.
my forehead, went under the skin and then came out. But thankfully I'm here and I'm not one-eyed like your pony.
Like my pony, yeah.
Got a glittery patch. But yeah, ponies are dangerous. And I don't know how many times I hit the ground with him. So I'm so glad you had such a great experience with your pony. That's really good.
My pony was a saint compared to that story.
Yes. My pony was not a good pony. And his name was Chaton. So like after the Black Stallion in the movie. But I remember people that when they would meet him, they're like, oh, this cute little pony, and what's his name? And I would, this little tiny kid, I'm like, his name is Chaton. And they always thought it was the bad word. And they were like, oh, you must be a bad little pony. And they'd start calling him the bad word. And I'm like, oh, no.
That is terrible.
So be careful what you name your animals, especially having kids. But yeah, he was a rough little pony.
Goodness.
But after I had worked with him and had him till I was about 10, I got a Mustang from the BLM. And then he went on to be my cousin's pony. And he was basically a saint by then.
Yeah, by then.
Right. He was 10 years old and had, good 6 years of riding under him. And he was nice for them, but he was not nice for me.
You had the hard part.
Yeah, I got knocked in the head.
Yeah.
We're always needing people here at Horse Plus that are experienced with horses, and Horse Plus has so many different departments. There's the business department, the media department, the veterinarian department, the horse department, and it's always a struggle for us to find people that have horse knowledge to work in the horse department. And Angela, she's like, oh, I've got this resume here for you to look at, and this is Garrick's daughter. And I was like, really? She wants to come work here? Okay. And she's like, yeah, but she wants to work with dogs. And I'm like, dogs? I mean, that's great, but we don't have an opening in our dog department. And I'm like, she doesn't want to work with horses? I'm like, call her dad, see what her dad said, if she'll work with horses. And so then Angela comes back and she's like, well, she wants it to be more of like a hobby. And if it's working, I guess it was more of like a volunteer application resume. And I was like, but we can pay her to work with horses. It can be a job. And so then you came out for your working interview. And I was like, let's not even do the working interview. Let's just hire you, because I already knew you're so good with horses. But how did it end up that you wanted to work with dogs to try to, this is a humane society focused on horses. Right. So why was your resume so focused on dogs?
Well, I had went to the career center the day before and they said Horse Plus needs help, or that's what they had said on the paper. And I was like, okay. And I was like, what are they, like, in what area? And they were like, they need like a kennel assistant or something. It was something strange. I was like, okay. I was like, I mean, I can put it, maybe I can work my way up to like the horse level, I guess. And I said, I'll just put in the thing. So I put in that I had experience in working in a grooming shop and all that stuff. Like, I was really pushing the dogs in my application because I wanted it to,
You're like, let's see if this will work. And I'm just looking at it being like, she's so good with horses. Why is this so focused on dogs?
Tawnee's thinking, what the heck? But I put the application in, and then I called Angela later that evening. Dad was like, give Angela a call, and she was like, You want to help to, like, adopt horses out and stuff? I'm like, yes.
Mhm.
I will do that. Like, I'm not set on the dogs.
You're not
trust
set
me.
on the dogs.
Like, I like the dogs, but if there's horses,
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sure she's great with dogs, but why can't she work with the horses?
Yeah,
So.
it was. And then I came in the next day and y'all were like, so are you wanting to do the horses? I'm like, yes, please. So it was a relief to everybody. I think.
Yeah, it was. It was. I was like, well, if she really wants to work with dogs, she could volunteer with the dogs,
Right.
but it'd be a waste to have her out there walking a dog when anyone else could walk the dog, when you could be helping with the horse program. So, so then you accepted the equine coordinator position here. So you help with adoptions and where horses are placed and all that stuff. So, but kind of what led you to, like, why work at Horse Plus? I mean, obviously you'd watched the TV show for years and then came out with your dad, and you kind of benefited from being, like, your dad being on the TV show, because some of the fans are like,
they already know
Garrick has girls.
Yeah.
So what kind of happened before, when your dad was the farrier here? Now, he's not able to do farrier work like he was before, so that's why he's not here as much, but you did get him here once. But I know that you all got some, like, Breyer horses and stuff from Horse Plus fans that are like, oh, Garrick's daughters need these.
Well, Horse Plus has always stood out to us in our family just because of their mission, and we've always worked with horses. Even, since I was a kid, we've always had a horse in the backyard. Like, that's just how I grew up. And we take good care of our horses are our family. And I will admit, like, our horses are used to make money and to work, but at the end of the day, they're your partner. So you don't necessarily have to spoil them and make them little brats, but take care of your partner, And that's just how we've always done it. And Dad's always had, he was really pushing that I came out here, and he said, you will learn so much. He's always had good things to say about Horse Plus, and he has seen a lot of horse organizations being a farrier, a lot of horse people, and he's just always liked Horse Plus and coming out here when he can, because he says he's old and retired now, but I think he's lying.
He's old and decrepit. Farrier work is hard work.
It really is.
It's hard on your back. It's hard. And one thing I really appreciated with your dad is he was always nice to the horses. There's some farriers that come in and they're rough with them. And, like, he always got the horse, and he always got that we were trying to help the broken down horses that nobody wanted.
Dad's patience. I've been with him to shoe some horses before, and he'd be like, Cydney, hold this horse. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you want me to hold that horse? But, like, he is so, like, he doesn't just keep the horse safe, but he keeps, like, the staff, like, who's holding the horse, who's handling it, safe too, because he knows, like, their limits, and he's always been patient. Like, he's worked with horses for hours at a time whenever they're, like, unhandled and stuff, and I'm thinking, there's no way. Like, I would get so bored. And he's had me in some questionable situations with some horses before, but we've always made it out.
You made it out the other side.
Made it out okay.
Well, I know, like, just, here, he keeps our staff entertained when he's been the farrier here before. So I'm guessing the horses are able to pick up enough and understand, like, this guy's a character and he's hilarious and everyone's laughing and they're happy. Yeah. And horses can pick up on the vibes of people. So if you have a farrier that's just like, getting there and, like, being rough and gruff, that can put the horse on edge. And I think with your dad, his personality of just being fun and happy, and the dewdrop jokes or whatever, he's sun drop jokes and all these things, that I think just that light, happy mood helps the horses. Yeah. And it helps the staff, and then everyone's happy. And
Dad's always
that helps.
Said, if you have a bad day and
the horses know.
They know.
Oh yeah.
They'll either push you off your cliff for the bad day, or they'll help you. But
if someone's having a bad day, like, nobody really wants to be around them. Right. So why would a horse want to hang out with a person that's having a bad day?
They're not like dogs. Like, dogs are just love you either way. Horses are gonna be like, get away from me. You're having
the dog is like, oh, I'm gonna come snuggle with you. I'm gonna make you feel better. And the horses are like, And most animals, dogs are actually a very interesting creature, because they're really the only animal that absolutely worships humans. Yeah. Like, there's no other real animal out there that worships humans like dogs do. Like, they just, you know, they're thrilled to see you and all these things, and anything you do, they're just like, oh, they're so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And other animals are like, there's a human.
Yeah, whatever.
Are they having a good day? I'll hang out with them. Bad day? Nope, we're gone.
Exactly.
I think dogs search us out on bad days to try to spend more time with us.
They're definitely a big part of Horse Plus as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of dogs that come through and in our county. And I mean, you've grown up in this area. There's so many dogs being dumped on the roads.
Yeah.
And that's one reason we're a horse facility and we're set up for horses. And we just couldn't say a blind eye or, you know, just turn a blind eye to these animals that are like just discarded everywhere. And I kind of felt like, you know, 10 years ago when we came to Tennessee, that it was like, there's no animal control here. There's no resources for these smaller animals. So we do take in a lot of dogs and a lot of cats and other animals like 30-something guinea pigs and we just, it's the plus in Horse Plus. Because Horse Plus we started it in Northern California up in the mountains. And a lot of people are like, oh, Jason and Tawnee from California. And they're thinking Los Angeles. And no.
Yeah.
We were like 2 hours from a Walmart.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Here we're like 15 minutes. I'm like, this is the most civilized I've ever lived, I feel like. Because it's so close to the little town. But in California, there's like every county has a county animal control. And like there's resources for animals. And that was one of the reasons that led us to Tennessee is like there's so much resources for animals out there. Why not come here where there's just not resources for animals? Because we can rescue animals anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And so that led us here to Tennessee. And, you know, I still think it's really sad with the amount of dogs in this area that are just discarded. And people come, you know, to visit, you know, Tennessee and maybe come up the Natchez Trace Parkway, and they'll find a dog as a tourist and be like, oh, well, I'll take it to the animal shelter. And there just isn't animal shelters in this area.
There's nowhere to take things. And, you know, we have a pretty good sized barn, and people just, like, I have seen someone drive by and chuck a cat out the window. And it's like, that's terrible, you know?
It really is.
Of course, we're going to feed them.
Yeah. So. And that's why they're taking them there. They're like, that farrier guy, he'll take good care of this cat. When I was little growing up, I did some gymkhana stuff, so like barrel racing, pole bending. And I remember the first time I did barrel racing, it was in this big field, and we were riding out there, and they had set up some barrels, and I was bareback on my little pony that was always trying to kill me, and like, this is the pattern, and I trotted him around, and that was my first experience with barrel racing. And then I went on to do a lot of just local town gymkhanas, and then the fair had a gymkhana, and I might have cheated just a little bit in that gymkhana because I asked them, and Dr. Lydia is very competitive. If you do any type of games with Dr. Lydia, she'll ask you all these questions to make sure she's following the rules. And so at this fairground gymkhana, I'm like, okay, so I have this one horse. I'd like to enter him in for the pole bending and the barrel racing and all that. And I'm like, can I put this other horse in for some of the other activities? Like, yeah, that's fine. So I have two horses. And that way, you know, one can take a break and whatnot. So my other horse, though, I was going to take through. So I did all my, like, keyhole racing and the pole bending and you know, barrel racing, all the fast stuff on this one horse. And then it was egg and spoon. And I had a Paso Fino that was extremely smooth. And, like, I kind of felt bad because everyone else is on their hopped up, like, hot gymkhana horses. And they told me I could enter multiple horses for different disciplines. So, like, you know, all the fast stuff's done. Now it's egg and spoon, which is you hold a spoon and there's like an egg, a hard-boiled egg on the end of it. Yeah. And with the Pasos, they'll actually do in their shows, they'll fill up like a glass of wine and ride through the arena and not spill any of it because they're so smooth. So I hop on the little Paso and do the whole thing with the egg and spoon, and they're like, okay, move your horse faster, and like she just keeps pacing faster and faster, but it's still like just like
it's smooth,
slide and spin there. The other folks are on the horses are just like, okay, go to a trot, and they're like doing, and they're hot horses because they were just doing all the speed racing. So they're like, whoa. So I won that one, but then I kind of felt bad. I was like, man, that's kind of the poor contestants.
Move, Tawnee.
They all said it was fine, and I didn't have any. I didn't actually break the rules, but at the end, I was like, that was kind of cheating.
You were like, you thought about it a little bit.
Yes.
Think smarter, not harder, though.
So your dad grew up, with horses, I'm assuming, as good as he is with horses, and ranch work and some rodeo stuff. So kind of what's been your role? I know you're like a champion of some stuff at rodeos. So what's that like for you?
So growing up, Dad always did the team roping, and I would always try to rope out in the yard, and I'd be like, this is so hard. I'm never going to get this. And then one day I finally picked up a rope, and I was like, hey, I can actually kind of do this. And going into calf roping, like I do the breakaway roping. So you rope a calf, and then there's a flag on the end of your rope. And whenever your rope is tied to your saddle horn, whenever that pops off, because the calf keeps running, the time stops. And so it's pretty simple, and it's a really fast sport. And I stole, back to stealing Dad's horses, I stole his team roping horse and made him a breakaway horse. And then I was like, he was pretty big horse, and most of them are little short horses. And then so I kind of took my mare and made her a breakaway horse. And then we just entered, and her first rodeo ever, we placed second, I believe. So I was like, she may work out for us.
There you go.
And I've won quite a bit of money off of her. She's only been rodeoing for 2 years now.
That's amazing.
And that's her career so far, is 2 years. And she's paid herself off.
Wow.
So
wow, that's awesome.
I'm thankful for her. She has grown up to be huge, though. I call her a hippo because she's so big, but she gets the job done. So it doesn't matter what kind of horse you have. It's about
you're doing
drive,
really good at it. So the breakaway, it's called breakaway because you're not pulling the calf down to the ground or anything. Right. It just keeps running. So you rope it, and then as soon as that breaks,
it basically kind of takes off going with your rope. Like you have no rope. Like it steals your rope from you. Yeah. And but we did like some rodeo associations, and we won and all that stuff. And I say we, me and my horse.
Yes, so, yes. And your dad that's hauling you to all these places.
He hauled us all over the world. I'm older now, so I kind of go myself, and he's always like, do you want me to go? And I'm like, Dad, you can go if you want to. And he's like, well, I don't want to get in your way. But it's weird for us whenever I'm older now and I go on the road by myself and with my buddies, because it's just always been me and Dad. And now it's kind of like,
growing up,
he's busy, and I guess I'll just go. And it's different now. But he's taught me all I need to know, so I feel safe going down the road and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
no. Well, and I mean, you're hauling a big truck and a trailer. Yeah. And I grew up, with trucks and trailers too. And I think some folks are like, what? A girl driving a truck and trailer?
Oh, yeah. Like, the stares you get at the gas stations are hilarious.
Like, who's driving that big truck and that big trailer? And I remember when I was getting my driver's permit, because I had driven, of course, stick shifts back in the good old days. Out in the, backwoods and on the dirt roads and stuff, I'd driven vehicles, but I didn't have my learner's permit. And I was really dyslexic and still am, but really struggled with that test. So I took it at one DMV, and I failed. But of course, I went in there 15 minutes before they closed because we lived so far away. We were in the town. Let me try. Well, I failed that one. And then me and my mom were over in Susanville for Northern California folks, which is up over the mountain from where we lived in Indian Valley. And I was like, oh, there's a DMV in there. Mom, let me go take the test. So went in, and they gave me the wrong test because it looked so young. They gave me a minor's test, which I was over 18 then. And I filled out the test that I'm like, I don't even know some of these questions. Like, when can you be out, without parents and stuff? But I managed to pass it. And then my mom's like, well, you want to drive home with the load of hay. So the truck was like piled high with hay and the trailer was piled high with hay. So my first experience on the road was driving a stick shift truck loaded with hay.
Yeah.
My mom must have been terrorized. Like when my kids started driving, I was like, ah!
And they didn't even have hay on the trailer,
no hay, no stick shift.
Right.
And yeah, my mom's like, yeah, go for it. So that was my my first thing.
That was the same. Mine's like the same deal because in the hayfield, like I was always the driver. And I hated that job because one person on the other side of the window is telling you something and this side of the window they're telling you something different. Everybody blames the driver.
It's always the driver's fault.
I'd be like 15 going to my grandparents back and forth from the hayfields on
the roads
with trailers and stuff. And I thought Mom would always be a nervous wreck, but Dad didn't care.
But maybe my dad was freaked out and my mom wasn't. I don't know. But my dad wasn't with us. He probably found out about it later.
Yeah.
He's a bit more of the worrier. So probably that evening, my mom's like, yeah, Tawnee drove the truck and trailer home from Susanville with the hay. And he'd be like, what?
Yeah. Great.
Crazy stuff. So a lot of people have no idea. Like, obviously, horse people have a lot of hay because we're always feeding horses. But you've been involved in the other side of it.
Yes.
And so what's it like haying during hay season time?
Hot. It's...
But you were the driver. You had air conditioning,
I was the
right? No air conditioning.
Dad made me keep the windows down.
Okay.
And then finally, my uncle came out about the last hay. We don't do square bells anymore. But last year was our first year doing round bells. My grandpa had a heart attack, so it slowed him down quite a bit. So we were like, and it's hard to find help. These boys nowadays do not want to pick up hay.
It's hard to find help anywhere.
Yes. And so we're just doing round bells because all I have to do is drive,
yeah.
which is fine, you know.
Tractor them on and drive. But yeah, no, it's hard to find folks that actually want to do physical labor.
Yes.
Like it used to be, you know, a long time ago, like, oh, it's you can get people, anyone to like load
Everybody
hay
wanted to work, yeah.
And now it's like they'd rather sit inside, be on their computers,
or they
video
come
games.
once and they're like, that's for the birds, and then they don't.
Yeah, they don't know what work is.
But yeah, I got my uncle to come out and drive because I would rather be outside stacking or picking hay up and throwing it on the trailer. And it's hot and it's an all day thing. And a lot of people get in a hurry when they do it, and they're like, but the best thing you can do is just keep it a steady pace all day and drink lots of water.
So have you ever like gotten a skunk or something in the hay?
No, snakes.
So in California, we got this load of hay, and the hay out there is always 3-twined, and they're at least 100-pound bales to 140 pounds, like if alfalfa, like they're heavy. And I remember like we go get the hay and stacking that hay and like the bales weigh like more than me. It seemed like it was like, oh, super hard. But we got this load of hay and it just kept smelling like a skunk. And it was like a skunk must have like gone off in the barn. And like I was just going for months, it seemed like. And because we just filled up the barn with hay. And then I went to feed this one morning and there was a skunk that had gotten squished in the baling.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why our barn smelled like a skunk forever. I'm like, those poor horses, like.
They're about, this hay smells so bad.
It was so bad. So I was like, man, I don't know if there was like a skunk living in the barn or what it was. But I finally found it. And it was in the hay.
That is so gross. I've never had a skunk in a
so
square
nasty.
bale.
That was the worst.
I find like snakes in the field from like the tractor getting them and stuff, and I just throw them in the truck with the boys.
Well, this poor skunk got bailed.
Oh, that's so bad. And you would think they'd smell it too when they picked it up.
You'd think, but I think they just didn't worry. Probably had some of those workers that day that are just like, get it on there. Yeah. Don't care. Well, yeah.
Well, now every time I feed hay, I'm gonna look for skunks.
Yeah. Well, you don't even have to look for them.
Just smell for skunks.
Yeah,
now.
You'll know.
Great.
It smells
I'll
terrible.
never be able to stop thinking about that now.
It's only happened once, so you're probably fine.
Yeah.
With your dad being a farrier and you were involved a lot in that, did your dad ever talk about like the big lick horses or the stacks that they would put on those horses?
I've always heard about them. I've never went and seen them firsthand and stuff, but I know that Dad never participated in any of that. I just knew it was a no-no.
Yes.
So, he never did that stuff. You know, he always just did kind of like the ranch horses and all that. But we've heard of like the big lick and stuff, and I just always knew it was a bad deal. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing. And I know your dad, when he was the farrier here, he's always like, never done it. And I have a big lick shoe here, and most people haven't had it before. Have you ever handled a big lick shoe?
No.
So this is a not even as heavy as they are. Like sometimes they can be up to 8 pounds, and these chains wrap around the horse's pastern. So they take mustard oil, diesel oil, anything that's like can cause pain or irritation, and they'll actually wrap their pastern with those chemicals with saran wrap and let them cook in.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Then when they put the chain on there, when the horse moves its leg, it flenches. So that's what gives that high step. So like this is one of the chains that they would use on that. And
I would not want that on me.
Right? It's super painful. So I know those that are listening can't see what we're with this shoe, but you can kind of just feel and imagine that being on a horse's foot.
That's insane. Horses limp with a rock in their shoe. Imagine this big old
heavy 8-pound stack nailed, and it's made from horse pads. Like your dad would put like one of those on for
stacked.
Yes, it's pads, horse pads stacked up. So one would be used for like a horse that has issues with its foot and we're packing it or something, more of like a rehab situation. So they've taken those pads and they've stacked them on top of each other. That's why they're called stacks.
Yeah.
And then what do you see like on the bottom and then at the end of the shoe?
It almost looks like, oh my God, there's nails all through it.
Oh, there's nails all through it, but that's part of a tire.
Really?
Yeah. So on the bottom there and the back, that's rubber from a tire.
Wow.
And it's the most weirdest barbaric horseshoe. And once the horse like has those stacks on, because it messes with how the horse stands and everything, it'd be basically like taking someone and making them live in high heels and never taking it off.
Yeah.
So it can really mess with the
longer you hold
horse.
it, the heavier it
the
is.
heavier it gets.
I know.
Yeah. And like they can't run around in fields. They can't they can only live in a stall at that point. And then on the bottom, amongst all the rubber and the nails, there's an open spot, and a lot of times they'll put extra weight in there. So you can kind of see the 3 nail holes or 4 nail holes there. That's where extra lead weight was put in to try to get more of that flick when they're doing the big lick. It's just insanity what people will go through. And at these big lick horse shows, they are extremely regulated. From the outside looking in, like there's police cars everywhere. There's the USDA has to be there enforcing and checking to make sure that the horses aren't visibly scarred. When you're at rodeos, do you see police there telling people to stay away from where the horses are?
No, when we're at rodeos, we love when kids come up and pet the horses.
Exactly.
We try to influence people to,
like to be involved with the horses. And when you go to these big lick horse shows, they keep the horses in the back. They have signs that only trainers and exhibitors and their grooms can be back there. Like they don't allow anyone to be back with the horse, and they bring them through this kind of area and then straight into the ring, and then they're straight back where nobody's allowed. And all the horse shows I've ever been to, you're proud as a horse owner to show someone your horse because it's your pride and joy.
And you want to influence people to, we need more people in the horse world, I think.
Oh, we do. It's just like folks that don't want to go move hay.
Yeah.
They don't want to do anything that involves work. And horses take a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
But I always think it's just crazy in the big lick world, how they just try to keep everything hidden.
It's kind of sketchy, yeah.
I mean, like, why wouldn't you want people to come see your horses and talk about them and stuff? But it all comes down to...
And I get that, like, the horses can be worth a lot of money. Unfortunately, like they do, they are in pain, but they do go for a lot of money.
Yeah.
But so do rodeo horses.
Exactly.
And, you see like online all these big ropers and stuff. Like I met so-and-so, like they're out and about meeting people and all that with their horses. And so it's like, you never see anybody with
Not with the stacks and the chains. Like, they keep their horses hidden. And they bring them out and then they hide them again. And that's where it's like, it's kind of obvious, like there's not good things happening there. Because horse people, like when you're at these rodeos and, you know, the like the horse expos and stuff, like you have these really fancy rare breeds.
Yeah.
And they're there in stalls with people petting them.
Yes.
And that's where it's always interesting. But we could probably talk all day about horses.
Oh, yeah.
But there's always something to say about horses. But I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to do this podcast with me. And that way folks can kind of get to know you a little bit more other than Garrick's daughter.
Yes, I do have a name, Cydney.
Yes, you do. It's Cydney. It's not Garrick's daughter. So, yeah. Well, thanks so much. And keep up your great work with horses.
Thank you.